President Barack Obama got his mojo back for the second debate held at Hofstra University in New York on Tuesday. Mitt Romney came on strong and aggressive, some say a bit too aggressive, but he met the President Obama, who didn't show up for the first debate. In spite of the president's strong performance, the race is still tight, which is what we have been saying all year long. In this debate, the president was powerful, firm, clear, and passionate. And to all my white media pundits, he wasn't an angry man. He was simply being clear. We're talking about that today with our Washington Watch Roundtable. Michelle Bernard, President and CEO of the Bernard Center for Women. Raynard Jackson, a Republican political consultant and president of Raynard Jackson Associates. Karen Finney, a Democratic strategist and former DNC communications director. And Cornell Belcher, a political strategist and Obama 2012 pollster with the cute peach pocket square. All right, let's get started. Lots of drama and emotion in this debate. Normally people talk about these debates as being sort of like boxing matches. This was like being in the ring, and I love this serious exchange right here where the president threw a major roundhouse at Mitt Romney when the issue of Libya was brought up.
And the suggestion that anybody in my team, whether Secretary of State, our UN ambassador, anybody on my team would play politics or mislead when we've lost 4 of our own, Governor, is offensive. That's not what we do. That's not what I do as president. That's not what I do as commander-in-chief.
Governor, if you want to reply just quickly to this, please.
Is it me or did the president drop the mic? I mean, I'm just sort of just like, boom, I'm just going to walk off. I mean, said it, got quiet, and walked off.
Yeah, I mean, what could Mitt Romney say? I mean, he was so in his face. He was so right. He was so strong. He was back. And, you know, particularly that coming 1 week before we've got the big foreign policy debate coming up. It was it is, I think, shows us what we're going to see in just a day or two.
Even as a Republican right now, you got to say, that was a boss move. That was a boss move.
He jab slapped him, as we say. and to me, I would have waited till the Monday night debate on foreign policy to go down that road. To me, that was a moment for him to pull together and say, hey, we mourn the lives of our diplomats there and keep it above the fray until Monday night.
No, he couldn't disagree. Because right before that, Romney was doing what he said he would do, by the way, in that Boca Raton fundraiser when he talked about the 47% and said, if a foreign policy crisis arises, I will try to take advantage of it. Yes. And just the sentence before Obama's comment there was Romney going after him, trying to politicize and trying to criticize him. One of the things that I thought was the most beautiful about that moment was anybody who ever thought that this president doesn't love this country and doesn't care about the job that he's doing, that was real passion for the job and for this country and for the people who give their lives for this country.
And, you know, Cordell, one thing I thought was great because the camera angle that we just showed, some of the other camera angles sort of had the split screen and whatever. In many ways, that was perfect because here you had the president standing up. He turns. He's basically lecturing him. It looked like Daddy talking to a son and put them in check. That's what it looked like.
It was a strong moment. And look, from a character trait standpoint, I mean, pollsters, especially our Republican pollsters who've been doing this for years, the strength and decisiveness is a strong characteristic for a president to have. You know, you say what you will about George Bush, but early on George Bush had that strength and decisiveness in aces. So it is awfully important for the president to sort of look strong and presidential. On the foreign policy thing, this is what I think was the mistake of Romney and his strategy. It looks like he is playing politics with the issue. And whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, in a time of national crises, Americans want to rally around the president. So for you to look like you're playing politics at that time really undermines you.
Hold that right there. I want to play this here because it speaks directly to that.
I think it's interesting. The president just said something which is that on the day after the attack, he went to the Rose Garden and said that this was an act of terror.
That's what I said.
You said in the Rose Garden, the day after the attack, it was an act of terror. It was not a spontaneous demonstration. Is that what you're saying?
Please proceed, Governor.
I want to make sure we get that for the record, because it took the president 14 days before he called the attack in Benghazi an act of terror.
Get the transcript.
He did, in fact, sir. So let me call it an act of terror.
Can you say that a little louder, Candy?
He did call it an act of terror.
Everybody's focused on that part. I love Please proceed, Governor.
Yeah, well,
I need you to move on.
And it's a strong sign of leadership. I mean, it's not just that we want our men to be men, we want our presidents to be men, but as an African American, I'm sitting back and I'm watching this, and I'm thinking in my head, you're not going to chump our president. He is a man, he is a strong black man, and I also love the fact that he was there to remind the entire world, I am the president, and you have your facts wrong.
But there have been a few moments also prior to that where it seemed like Romney, both physically and sort of in his tone, and you could see it in his eyes when he was trying that exchange, was trying to intimidate the president. And it was like, oh, no, you did not. Yeah. And that's why he was like, go ahead, keep going. Keep talking.
Speaking of intimidation.
Because you don't know what you're talking about.
Speaking of intimidation.
In the last 4 years, you cut permits and licenses on federal land and federal waters in half.
Not true, Governor Romney.
So how much did you cut them by?
Not true.
By how much did you cut them by then?
Governor, we have actually produced more oil.
No. How much did you cut licenses and permits on federal land and federal waters?
Governor Romney, here's what we did. There were a whole bunch of oil companies.
I had a question, and the question was, how much did you cut them by?
You want me to answer
How much did you cut them by?
I'm happy to answer the question.
I don't think anyone really believes that you're a person who's going to be pushing for oil and gas and coal. You'll get your chance in a moment. I'm still speaking.
Well,
and the answer is, I don't believe people think that's the case, because that wasn't a question.
Okay.
That was a statement.
The problem is, and it's just what he did with Governor Perry at debates, too.
Debates, yeah.
It seems overbearing. It seems bullyish. And with women voters in particular, and in the dial testing with women voters, you can it is a real problem because that sort of they see him in the room with foreign leaders, and you can't be that guy.
He's completely disrespectful, and it's Mitt Romney. It is the Republican brand that we have been watching for 4 years. They are completely disrespectful of the office of the president, of this president in particular. It's no different than some. I was going to say something I shouldn't say. Than the person, than the individual who yells out during the State of the Union address, "You lie," and voters don't like that.
But I thought what was interesting about that whole exchange was this was one of the few times we saw the president emotional and almost authoritarian. I thought that was good because the public has not seen that side of the president very often.
I mean, he's normally no drama cool. Obama, very cool. Yeah. But there are, first of all, it's clear these two do not like each other. Yeah. That's very clear. And what also was interesting in terms of that exchange over the permits, Romney, first of all, according to the format rules, was not supposed to be asking questions to the candidate. But what the president did, I had a body language expert on, Tom Joyner, this week, and it was perfect because actually what happened was the president turned away from him and began to address the audience. Right. And basically he said, you can stay in here and be a petulant child. I'm going to go talk to the audience. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. And I think, Cornell, to your point, people responded that way. And that's why you look at some of these polls showing the president won. And they say, well, Romney won on the issues, but the president won overall. Likability is still going to be a critical issue in this election.
We are an American Idol society.
Yes. The other part for Romney was his facts were wrong. I mean, you can't roll up on somebody like that and try to go at them like that. And your facts are wrong. Like, you at least have to be right about what you're saying.
If you're hubris, yes, you can.
And to your point, on that night of the debate, PolitiFact literally sent out 5 different tweets repeatedly. Romney said this, false. Romney said this, false. And so we were sitting here, just getting it. It was kind of like, okay, how many more times they're going to send out something that's actually, something's actually true? What must, first of all, your assessment in terms of Romney's strengths in this debate? I think one strength was when he really went after the president's record the last 4 years on the economy.
Brilliant.
That probably was his strongest part of this debate.
Without question.
It was the strongest part of the debate, but to me, any strengths that the governor showed during the debate were completely overshadowed by just the sheer disrespect that he had for the president, the presidency, and just the format of the debate. I thought it was completely uncalled for. But maybe it's important because it also shows the American public a little bit more about who Mitt Romney actually is.
I do think, though, for some voters, I think for African-American voters in particular, I think we saw that as more offensive. I think some voters probably looked at that debate and said, okay, that was Governor Romney showing he could be on the same stage with the president and mano a mano. So I do think, I agree with Cornell. I think for women voters, it was too much. I think for most voters, it was too much. But again, when I think about who are the voters that they're trying to get, that he's still trying to galvanize and motivate to get out for him, they may have seen it a different way.
Hold tight. I got to go to a break. We're going to pick up on that when we come back.